Take your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty ape!
We're going streaking!
Dave's Video Graveyard.
That guy in a little coat.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
I'm not a smart man.
Shut up!
One tubby.
What's wrong with him?
My first thought would be alive.
Why so serious?
Wise man say forgiveness is divine, but never pay full price for late pizza.
Hail to the king, baby.
Hey, Mom! The meatloaf! We want it now! The meatloaf!
Of all the radio shows in the world, this is definitely one of them. Dave's Video Graveyard on 100.5 WOWFM.
Okay, you people sit tight, hold the fort, and keep the home fires burning. And if we're not back by dawn, call the president.
100.5 WOWFM. It is Dave's Video Graveyard for your Monday night, and it is once again a guest choice special. Before we get to that, Paulie, how you doing, man?
Good. Yep, having a good week.
Did you see yourself some sexy Zac Efron as Ted Bundy?
Oh, you know what? He's going to pull it off. That's just got some sort of award written all over it.
Now, I was watching this week's trailers. There was really nothing worth making a whole segment out of this evening. One thing that stood out to me, though, I hadn't seen anything about Matthew McConaughey's beach bum. And watching the trailer for that, Zac Efron has all, lines shaved into his hair, and I think maybe I'm going to do it.
Look, you can't get any worse.
Now, we are joined this evening by a man that is named after a Richard Marx song. We are joined by LukeHazard from Wrestle Rampage. Dude, how you doing?
Hey, thanks, man. It's great to be here.
It's great to be amongst such a big Richard Marx fan.
Well, yeah, something like that. I guess so. Sure.
Nice. So, we've thrown around a few different titles, but we've settled on the be-all, end-all of voice of South Australian wrestling, because I can't help but notice every time someone takes up a commentator spot in local wrestling, they have a more extravagant title. And given that you've probably been around the longest now, you get to have the big name.
Well, I guess the longest is probably up for question. Probably most consistent, or longest. Look, it's an in-running joke from the other commentators and the announcers in Adelaide, but we do have some of the best here. But you know what? I'm the best.
Oh, there you go. Tell us what
you know
really
what?
think.
You know what I like about everyone from the wrestling community? Subtle.
Yes, that's it. And that's no egos, nothing.
No,
it's
you
all
know
just...
what? I don't know what we're complaining about.
It's building up the industry, not the.
There's no me first for that. It's fine.
You guys have a massive show, and it's down here in our backyard, essentially, at the Waterside Workers Hall. We're having my 30th birthday, humble brag.
Well, look out.
Yeah.
Seems like a really big place to have no people in it.
It really was. It didn't quite draw what you guys' shows does, but it does okay. Now, as many fans of Wrestle Rampage would know, Jonah Rock, good friend of the show, humble brag, before he was on our show, he wasn't signed to the WWE. Since doing our show, he's...
Well, let's just put it this way. At Never Surrender at the Waterside Workers Hall on February the 2nd, it will be Jonah Rock's last match in Australia.
That's how you segue, by the way.
Right.
Okay. Like that?
Oh, professionalism. What's that? So, what's coming up this weekend?
Well, as we announced on the Wrestle Rampage Facebook and Instagram profiles, we've decided to give you guys here on Dave's Video Graveyard an exclusive release of a couple of matches
straight
for this
out
weekend.
To all of our listener.
It's all about the online gimmicks, mate. You know that. So there's a couple of big matches. Of course, the big main event, we got Jonah Rock taking on Tommy Knight. Two big boys in the ring. It's going to be a fantastic match. But look, let's just kick off with one of your exclusive releases right now. We're going to see everyone's favourite, the Rat Daddy, challenge for the Wrestle Rampage Cruiserweight Cup title, taking on Mike Boomer.
Friend of the show, Mike Boomer. Thank you very much.
Friend of the show. Yeah, I'll have to get that in there.
Nice. It's going to be fantastic. You guys kind of have gone from strength to strength over the last few years. has it become more fun, more work? How is it behind the scenes?
Look, it's definitely changed because obviously Hartley Jackson is now in the WWE as a trainer for NXT. Damien Slater's moved to Perth. Jonah Rock, it's his last match in Australia. There's a lot of...
if you need me, just ask me. You don't have to build all this backstory.
You are always welcome down at the Wrestle Rampage dojo. You know that.
Do they need kind of a Goldberg streak thing happening where I don't actually have to wrestle anyone? I just squash match the whole way through?
If I say yes, is it going to get you down there?
Maybe.
Yeah, definitely need it.
See, when you said Goldberg, I assumed that you went the Ducks and they just tie you to something.
Yes. I went there as well, don't worry.
I'm going to show up in full ice hockey regalia. It's going to be fantastic.
And not current Goldberg.
And smoke some. Yeah, have smoke. You've picked some absolutely amazing things, but before we get to that, I wanted to know, how did you get into local wrestling?
Always a fan from when I was 8 years old, and we used to have to go and hire the 6-month-old videos to actually make it on time.
The joys of Australia. Yep.
Absolutely. And then probably around 1999 time, Rowan from a guy from Melbourne who is actually now working for the WWE. He had the old website wrestling.net.au. He said, hey, you'd be pretty happy with this show in Adelaide coming. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And then I found out about that show and then found out that there was a group that was starting up in Adelaide, Pro Wrestling South Australia, and then I just joined on from there, and away we went.
Yeah.
So I wrestled for a little while. It was really bad.
Yeah, right. Was it under the name LukeHazard?
Yes.
Nice.
Yes, and it's just stuck with me from there. So
awesome. Was it injury or not?
Being
Let's
crap.
say lack of skill.
Yeah, lack of skill. Lack of the perfect body for it, and the lack of just wanting to do all the training and doing it right. Eventually, just became a commentator and ring announcer. It was a gig down in Mount Gambier one night. They needed someone to do the commentary, and they called me, and I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? And that's where it all started.
Well, they do say those who can't do talk about, and welcome to our show.
Yeah. I'm in the right place then.
Yeah. We're going to get into the music as we kick off your 10 favourite films. Of course, anyone out there wants to join in the conversation can jump on our Facebook, Dave's Video Graveyard at WOWFM. And of course, if you want to get tickets for this weekend's big event from Wrestle Rampage, you can simply jump on their Facebook or their website.
Yeah, WrestleRampage.com. You can purchase tickets from there.
Awesome. This is DVG. 100.5 WOW FM, Dave's Video Graveyard guest choice special with LukeHazard, promoting this weekend's fantastic Wrestle Rampage show. Luke, you had a lot of trouble getting to this list this evening.
I had a lot of trouble. As soon as we had the discussion about coming on, a couple of months ago maybe now?
Yeah, yep.
It has been a really anxiety-driven event every night looking at this list on my phone, I tell you.
You're a baby too.
Life has been crazy.
Honey, the baby's crying.
Yeah.
I'm looking at my list.
You're awake. You're just staring at your phone. Yeah, no, this is important.
I'm at number 4. Leave me alone.
Now, you have chosen one that will be... The universe will be revisiting soon with Bad Boys 3, but you've gone for OG, Mike Lowry, Bad Boys 1.
From 1995. Why did you pick this film?
I think probably because I ended up I had to get a second copy of it on VHS.
Oh, you wore it out.
I taped it from Foxtel and wore it out, and I had to get a second copy. So just remembering how much I watched that movie, loved it.
I remember also obsessing over this movie, but also thinking I was super smart for knowing things from this movie. And anytime on Discovery Channel I was watching with my family, something come up about ether. I'm like, they use that to cook drugs.
Mark Lowry told me.
Mum and Dad, is there a big drug trade in Broken Hill that we don't know about? I'm like, no. In Miami, that's what they use. This is Michael Bay when he was proving to the world that he could do 360 camera work, American flags in slow-mo. This movie's fantastic. I love it.
I like it because it has a lot of swearing in it and blatant action. And you can really just turn your brain off and just enjoy it. Yeah. And there's some great lines that you can always come back to on there. It's
what we call Bayhem, which is the Michael Bay effect.
Perfect.
Where it's just Bayhem, the whole film.
It's very accurate. And anytime I hear the word badges, I go straight into Bad Boys. And obviously we can't do it now. But yeah.
anytime my wife asks if I fart, I say dead guy. She has no idea what I'm talking about, and she hates me for it.
I think one of the funniest things with this movie as well is in 2011 I spent some time in India, and they had this on TV. They had on the same night they had Bad Boys 1 and Bad Boys 2 back to back, and I thought that was a bit strange having it back to back. They actually cut all the swearing out of the movie.
Wow.
So you had both Bad Boys 1 and Bad Boys 2, probably altogether about an hour and a half. It was that much cut out of it.
I'll never forget one of the first times I travelled to Queensland watching Die Hard, and it just said Yippee-ki-yay, and that was it. And I was like, what have you done?
Yeah.
You guys are monsters.
Yeah, pointless. I was
This
waiting
movie would have gone for 10 minutes without this
there
one.
was not a lot of it in there at all. And there was parts that they just cut out entire scenes just because it was laden with F-bombs.
Tay Leone, I believe this was pre-David Duchovny, and before she was just super boring.
Yeah. Probably one of the reasons I watched this, and that and Joe Pantoliano.
Well,
I could watch him read the newspaper.
I had to laugh recently. They had a headline, like one of the big IMDb stories was that Joe Pantoliano, I cannot say his name properly, had signed on for Bad Boys for Life. And I was like, not really news that's exciting for me. That'd be like, Jojo from the first one's coming back. He's going to come back. He still makes tyres.
Jojo the Tire Man.
Good times. Let's move on to your next film on the list. Let us know what it is.
Braveheart.
Oh, right.
Bit of a change of style.
No, not at all. The first time I saw someone eviscerated with the top of a spiky log. Very good film.
Yeah, it's another one that's always in the bank to go and watch. Got to love having Netflix and streaming services now. You don't have to go back to well worn out VHS copies. Yeah, and the fact that it's really long as well. So if you need something to take up 4 hours of your life, chuck Braveheart on.
The early to mid 90s were that time of more is more in a lot of filmmakers' eyes. So you had the likes of Dances with Wolves, Bravehearts, all these sprawling epics. This is probably the one that I've revisited the most. It's a 3-hour film, which is unheard of. I remember it was released both as a theatrical single video cassette and the double one, double bubble case. Yeah, man, this film is fantastic. Probably one of the first super hyper-violent biopics.
But there was the ones that were but it's historical, so it's okay.
Yeah.
My dad's Scottish, so I got to watch this probably like it.
Is that why you love this and So I Married an Axe Murderer?
Yeah, pretty much. You know what? If you watch both those movies, that's being a Scotsman.
No.
Was this one of? I mean, you guys probably know more, but was this one of those ones that started off those historical type movies? After that, this is what kicked it off. So.
I'd put this one as the start of the historical MA-15, and also then you got Saving Private Ryan as like the World War II.
Even more so, because you had all those biopics, and then you had the quasi, like the fictional works that were shot as a biopic, the likes of Legends of the Fall.
Yep.
Then you had Last of the Mohicans.
Yep.
All these other films that were just.
But there was still.
It's not just good; it's also 4 hours long.
I mean, I would go so far to say as that you wouldn't have stuff like Outlander or possibly even Game of Thrones ish types of shows these days if it wasn't for stuff like Braveheart, where it's like, you have like this medieval, super violent, super sexy at times.
I'm surprised you didn't work in a reference to a certain Alan Rickman, Kevin Costner film there.
Well, it pales in comparison to Robin Hood. Where is the American? Supposed to be an Englishman.
Yeah, no.
I was going to kick out of this as well when you'd see, like at the start of other movies and that, they'd talk about this movie, and you see Mel Gibson in his whole get-up, and he's looking in the camera, like being the director and doing other stuff. He's about to go chop some dude's head off, but hang on a sec, let me see what the shot's like. I just got a kick out of that scene.
Well, I've always loved the behind-the-scenes shots from both Braveheart and Apocalypto.
Yep.
Because it is so funny that everyone's in the super realistic. Well, a lot of people have argued that it wasn't. The super realistic garb, all the costuming, everything fantastic, everything of style. And then you'll see like Mel Gibson in a shot on like one of those 1990s massive telephones, like sitting at the director's chair and stuff.
That famous photo of him and the dude from that Jim Caviezel, like him and he's full Jesus blood, like going from town, and he's just like, hey.
There was one he actually put in the trailer because he is a madman of Apocalypto. You have to search on the internet and find it. So funny. He actually put himself in one of the trailers. There's a sprawling shot of all the tribesmen. He is in there with a cigar in his mouth, just in white clothes. It was in the original trailer release, just in normal clothes, just in the background of one of the shots. I'm like, you are a madman for more than just your views on race.
Yeah, this is pre-scumbag Mel Gibson.
This was Oscar winner. So,
yeah.
And I think that also has a lot of things to do with the state of film, is once something wins an Oscar, you get your likes of Daniel Day-Lewis and everyone else jumps on what's my next biopic. And then you get further and further down the line and we end up at League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. I blame this for that. We might get back into the music.
That was a stretch.
Not at all. This is DVG on WOWFM. 100.5 WOWFM. Dave's Video Graveyard. There we heard from some music. Yeah, good times. Now, we're joined by LukeHazard from Wrestle Rampage. He has picked 2 super obscure unknown films. I couldn't even find them looking for them. So, unfortunately, didn't get to watch either of these films on your list. This first one, what is it about? Tell us what it is.
Well, this guy, he has to go to jail for a crime he didn't commit, apparently, and it just talks about his...
It's a fugitive sequel.
No, it is the Shawshank Redemption. Look, let's be honest, it's probably up the top of nearly everybody in the world's list of favourite movies, but yeah, I couldn't go past it.
In fact, it is the second best Frank Darabont Stephen King film.
Don't.
Yep, I'm going to talk about a little unknown film called The Mist, which is the best because it has Tom Jane. There we go. We got it out of the way. We talked about Tom Jane early. Why did you pick this film?
Again, it's one of those movies that you can just watch. If it's on TV, I will sit there and watch it. You can pick up, if you've seen it enough times, you can pick up wherever you are, and it's fine. You can just watch till the end of it. And Morgan Freeman. It's Morgan Freeman.
This is one of those films that since 1994, maybe every 20 minutes, has been on one of the channels of free-to-air television. It's funny, like you can start watching at any point and still enjoy it. And I always find it interesting, the character played by Clancy Brown, the main jail warden, not the warden, sorry, the main jailer. Depending when you start watching is whether or not you like him as a character or not. And I'm like, it's so funny that the film is so sprawling and like epic in terms of like length and everything. But yeah, everyone's character arc you can pick up at any point. And I still write Brooks was here on like anything that I graffiti.
And also like one of the best bad guys ever with the warden. Obviously, Bob Gunton, who played him, was getting himself ready for his better role of the bad guy in Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls. But
well, this was kind of a stepping stone for everyone because we also have
step down with Bob Gunton.
We also have Death from Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, so he's in there. Clancy from Pet Sematary 2.
Can you imagine they're all on set? It's like, what are you going after this? Wow, I'm gonna be with Jim Carrey.
I'd love to see on set like arguments where they just like, shut up, Morgan Freeman. You're just going to go on and like do movies about penguins, surely.
Maybe I will. Maybe I will.
Do you think they even got sick of hearing Morgan Freeman's voice?
No one could.
Was this the catalyst for his voiceover work?
Oh,
surely.
Yeah. They're like, he needs
Jinx,
to be...
by the way.
Yes.
Jinx, very Jinx. Luke will not be talking for the rest of tonight.
You owe him a couple of red Skittles. Yeah, they were saying like this voice needs to be over the top of penguins. We need to do this for soon. So
yeah.
One of my favorite films as well. Tim Robbins is awesome in it. He's kind of weird.
Yeah,
he did some weird choices.
I recently revisited Austin Powers, The Spy That Shagged Me, and forgot that he plays JFK in it. Yeah. And I was like, what a weird casting. He plays such a weird casting in The Pick of Destiny, where he's the guitar shop work guy. It's such a weird casting for someone that was held in such high esteem to then go on to be almost a bit part of cameos and
High
stuff.
Fidelity, where he plays like John Cusack's neighbor, and
it's such an amazing film. But much like the Star Wars trilogy, after seeing what Family Guy did with it when it comes to making a joke of it, so much of that resonates now every time I see this, particularly I can't help
When
it
he's
when he
calling
goes,
true and he's watching Friends.
I love when he goes, it was at least like 6 months before I even got 2 words out of him. And he just walks up and goes, vagina boob. I was like, that is amazing writing. And I also love because we talk about memes on the radio because that's how current and hip we are. There's the meme where Andy Dufresne is only just inside the poster.
Yep.
And when the warden puts his finger in the hole of the poster, it's his butt. Good times. Describing memes on the radio. That's quality. Now, your next film is just as unknown and not beloved. It's from 1994, directed by Robert Zemeckis. What is this film?
Well, the classic Tom Hanks movie, Forrest Gump.
Is it about a forest?
Apparently, a gumpy one.
Nice.
Does it have a dog called Hooch in it?
Oh, maybe.
They don't care.
The parts of it does.
Why did you pick this movie?
It's Tom Hanks.
True.
And again, it's...
At his most Tom Hanks.
Oh, man, we got a face full of Hanks in this. Yeah.
And I think just the way that the story goes through it, it's great how just sections part of his life. I really enjoyed that. And yeah, I think Tom Hanks is just amazing.
There are lots of murmurs of a sequel, and I just...
Do you remember when the sequence came out and like everyone was just losing their minds over how they put him into old
the JFK footage?
Oh my lord! Like it was like they thought that they done witchcraft. It was like, how did you do this? I can't. Do you cry every time?
I'll get pretty close.
I'm nearly crying just thinking about it. So
yeah, there are times at
the end when he's like,
I'm not a smart man bit.
No, when he's asking Jenny about her son, their son.
Oh yeah,
I'm
yep.
In saying that, I'm pretty sure this film ruined anyone's life. His name was Jenny. Because
yes,
surely anyone's name Jenny's like, please don't call me Jenny.
And anytime you're telling someone to run, or you see someone run, every single time is run, Forrest, run.
And I also I always found it super interesting, much like in Big with Tom Hanks, when he filmed Big, he got the child actor to do a scene and he would then copy it. Like that's how he learned it. That's how he did Forrest Gump's lines.
Wow.
Because there was the little boy that plays young Forrest, his southern drawl was actually real and not part of the character. That's how he really talked. And Tom Hanks is like, I'm doing that for everything. So that is basically where the accent came from. I did read somewhere, but it could be a lie, because maybe I just wrote it myself on IMDb, that Kurt Russell had something to do with the Elvis scenes.
Nope.
No? I must have just made that up myself.
You just put stuff Kurt Russell into everything. I want to see his Wikipedia entry.
And I forget that Gary Sinise and Tom Hanks were both in Apollo 13 as well, which is another fantastic film.
Yeah.
You can fact check me. Gary Sinise has chicken pox, but then he doesn't really, so he doesn't go on the mission. And then he stays on the ground and sticks stuff together with gaffer tape.
You know what?
That's the full story.
I haven't seen that since Apollo 13, since probably
it
came
is
out.
Ron Howard's best film, other than Cocoon. Because Cocoon makes me cry about old people.
Cocoon was almost on my list.
Really?
Almost.
Wow.
Almost on my list.
See? Quality. And then these unknown art house films that no one's ever heard of.
Was this also the first one where it was like the soundtrack was just as big as the film? Because I remember it was like one of the first ones that had like every song on the soundtrack was like from the old 60s and 70s, like they had the Vietnam,
yeah, because there was 2 soundtracks released. There was one with all of Alan Silvestri's score, which apparently became iconic, and I got married to, and then there was all the like historical songs throughout.
That Fortunate Son over Vietnam footage.
Yes.
Was Vietnam ever shown again without?
I was going to say no. That even goes back to Apocalypse Now. I don't think that anything has showed Vietnam without having something to do with Creedence Clearwater Revival. This is probably one of the first films that my older sister, my mum and dad, it was just as special to all of us. You know what I mean? It was a really iconic family film. Have you showed it to your kids?
Yeah, I think my oldest 2 have seen bits of it.
Yep.
They're too busy with YouTube and stuff these days. They can't sit down and watch a full-length movie.
Maybe get, PewDiePie or someone to do a commentary over in the corner, and then they'll
Or maybe I should just, film myself watching this.
Do a reaction
video.
And
then they'll watch it.
They'll be like, oh, nice.
That might work.
No, oh, man, this film... as I said, there's a lot of rumours kicking around about a possible sequel. Robert Zemeckis has kind of fallen in love with himself, much to do with Spielberg's work with Ready Player One.
Yeah.
So it probably wouldn't be too far off the cards, because he did make that terrible tightrope walking movie a couple of years back.
Was that
and it was terrible.
Yeah. Have you heard that the dude's coming back for a Super Bowl ad?
I did see the teaser ad. Did you see that?
Yes,
I
did.
know. Like,
I've already been burned by the sequel to Crocodile Dundee I never received, so got no time for you.
I had people coming in and going, "That was real. It's real." It's not. It could have been.
That is probably one actor that does not, much like Tom Hanks, does not need to revisit any of his characters.
No, Forrest Gump. I think it's the first time we might have talked about Forrest Gump in here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of my favourite lines in the movie is when he's Lieutenant Dan's made some investments for me, and he invested in a fruit company, and he opens a letter, and it's the old multicoloured Apple logo.
The Apple Macintosh logo.
Love that bit.
And there is it is so great the way it's ingrained with Americana the whole way through, just all the different historical events. A lot of movies try to kind of copy that vibe, and even down to, if you think about it, Zack Snyder's Watchmen, the way that he threads themically throughout all the historical events. I don't think anything's done it as well as this.
I was once quoting this with a friend, and we were in church, and he said the line, I'm sorry, Lieutenant Dan, she tastes like cigarettes, which I laughed, and I've never had 200 people look at me, because I did one of those real and yeah, for some reason that's always been my favourite line. Every time it just makes me giggle, because I think of that, and then I also think about the church of old people looking at me, just, why are you laughing?
Good times. We'll get back into the music, and coming up in about 20 minutes time, we've got another big Natch announcement. That's a new thing that Wrestle Rampage are trying out, and there'll also be a match announcement too.
It's going to be LukeHazard versus Dave here, live on the air.
In a kissing contest. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. WOWFM. This is 100.5 WOWFM, Dave's Video Graveyard with LukeHazard. There we had some Weezer.
They don't really make a difference to it, do they?
It's a bit of Weezer karaoke. They released a surprise album last week called the Teal Album, and Teal's probably a great way to describe it, because it's kind of a meh.
Yeah,
sorry, Port Adelaide fans.
Sorry. But one of the best things about covers is change it up and make it your own sort of thing. But this is literally just maybe just a more distorted guitar. Bad Weezer. Now we have a film from 1998 that makes me cry. Tell us all about it.
Again, because it was one that made me cry. We're together on that one. Great Robin Williams movie, Patch Adams.
Not wrong. The true story of a heroic man, Hunter Patch Adams, determined to become a medical doctor because he enjoys helping people out. Ventured where no doctor ventured before, and one of the greatest sight gags in any film ever is when he has to decorate the hall for the gynecological conference, and he just does a giant set of legs either side of the door. Comedy gold.
The warden from Shawshank is back too.
Oh, yes, he is.
He might be in every one of these films tonight.
This is one of those films which I quite often, when revisiting films, I problem solve. And I'm like, if this just didn't happen, or if they just did this then. Knowing what's going to happen, spoiler alert, to his partner, it's such a slow build to it as well, that you're just like, please just tell that guy to go away. Get him arrested. Do whatever. Just get rid of him.
That's the bit that kills me.
Yeah.
When she opens the door, or when he opens the door to her and come on in, and then that fade out, gone. I'm done. I need to pause it for a little while and compose myself.
I actually steer, because I don't like to feel feelings. Hence my movie choices. I didn't revisit this one for a long time after the first time I saw it, because it really, much like there's another film, kind of similar vibe with Michael Keaton, where he's making a video for his son because he has a terminal illness. Hits you hard. This I'd also put in the category with the film Awakenings with Robin Williams and thing, because it's just that Robin Williams had that way of making drama comedies that were they were both at the same time, but at no point took away from the other.
No.
And I think Scrubs even borrowed heavily themically from
Scrubs is Patch Adams put to TV. Like
Yeah.
some those episodes,
And there's been no one else that's been able to do that other than Robin Williams.
Yeah,
It'd be-
and it's an absolute tragedy that the world lost Robin Williams, basically. And funnily enough, one of the most iconic songs of all time, To Make You Happy, Don't Worry, Be Happy, had him being a clown the whole way through the music video.
Yep.
Now I cannot hear that song without thinking of him, so it's the opposite of what the song's going for. Is this probably your favourite Robin Williams film?
Look, when I was going through the list, I definitely have to get a Robin Williams movie in there. And if I think about, okay, how does it pick one that really makes you feel something, and it was definitely Patch Adams.
Me and my mates, I reckon it was around 95-ish, went to the movies to see Jack because we didn't realise it was a Ridley Scott film, and it was as grouping and like gritty as it was. Thought it was a kids' comedy, much like Sandlot type deal.
Yep.
Went and watched it, and when he's making the speech at the end, like, you know, the real heartwarming speech, we're all sitting, all these dudes, and I made that I'm gonna cry noise. You know that silence where you're just dead silent because you're gonna cry, but you go to breathe in and it does that thing. So I went, and everyone's like giving me crap. So add to this story, later that afternoon, I actually had to go to the hospital because my pride wouldn't let me admit that I had cried. So I was like, no, I've got asthma. So I had my puffer, and my friends kept bringing it up, and I'm like, no, I've got asthma. And every time to prove I'd have more Ventolin, and I ended up having an overdose of Ventolin and going to the hospital because I'm like, no, I'm really asthma, because I didn't cry, because real men do cry.
Jeez.
Real gingers do cry, ladies and gentlemen. You heard it here first. Now, your next film choice.
Can I also say, just the director of Patch Adams, because like my big thing now, and you do it too, we have to go to IMDb once we watch something and like just go through the back history of like even like, you know, the second unit camera operator.
We played terrible bingo, basically.
Yeah. So after this is the guy that brought us the first Ace Ventura, then The Nutty Professor, then Liar, and he's like, nah, I'm going to put all my emotional punch into one movie, Patch Adams, and then after that, I'll go back to Bruce and Evan Almighty.
Well, so let's see. He's done some super homophobic film being I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry. He's been super sacrilegious with Evan Almighty, as well as Bruce Almighty.
But he did Patch Adams, so it was okay.
He's body shamed with the clumps. He's done really well. And he's also been transphobic with Ace Ventura Part 1. Bingo! We have the winner of the best person involved with the film. Good times. Good on you, Tom. Shout out to Tom listening.
Wow.
He's got his Google alerts turned on. He's like, someone just mentioned me in Australia on community radio.
They know my secrets.
Now, the next film that you have picked, tell us all about it.
Look, this is a pretty iconic movie, and I think the second time I saw it was I was in primary school. I was in year 6, and we had all the girls had gone out to do something, so they had all the boys in at school, and we're all in the gym, and because it's all the boys together, it's that
quick side note, is this not an R-rated film?
Well, that's the interesting thing about it. And my teacher, was my teacher at the time, and he said, right, everyone, we're going to watch this movie. It has these swear words in it, and he actually said the swear words. I obviously can't say them now, but
imagine the class.
You can imagine everyone's just like, oh, OMG. My teacher just said, insert word here. And so that was one of those things that you'll never ever forget. And they said, if we hear you say them, you're going to be in trouble. But this is a good movie, so you need to watch it. Of course, it's Stand By Me.
Before we start, kids, here's a dead body.
Yeah. Didn't mention the dead body, just the swearing.
They've just got a dead body. Here's a dead body. We'll point to you all the parts that are dead. All of it.
Yeah.
This film, I'm pretty sure, and I can't remember what film we spoke about recently, the iconic moments of basically last week of school, of the Wieldian telly on the with the VCR tied to it with hockey straps. Pretty sure there was a similar film recently we discussed, and I had seen it for the first time at school. And like growing up, you're like, that is not a movie I should have seen at school for the first time.
100%.
This film, perhaps one of the... Oh, no, I'll go on to say this is the greatest kid acting in a film ever.
Definitely.
The way he gets performances out of, like Rob Reiner, obviously, of Spinal Tap fame. The performances he gets out of all these kids, none of them are precocious to the point of being unbearable. And actually, funnily enough, Paul has been getting me into the Goldbergs, and I've actually found there is a very similar theme and style to Rob Reiner's filmmaking with the Goldbergs, because the kids are great actors.
It's a love letter to that sort of style of filmmaking, yeah.
And this became one of Stephen King's biggest tropes in films, with like the likes of It and the Loser Squad, and pretty much every film with the group of kids and group of friends that fight some kind of evil. And this is another one that Family Guy ruined for me. when Keith Sutherland character says, "Well, I'll just come to your house tomorrow with a gun," like this is fine.
Yeah. No, it's I watched this one at school too. I don't know what the deal was, because it's like, it's got 4 kids in it. So
I'm positive I saw this at primary school as well, because it was that iconic train bridge crossing. There was actually a train bridge near our school, very similar setup, and everyone just kind of looked at each other, and the teacher's like, no.
That bit in Family Guy where the trains keep coming. Just when I first watched that, because like it's one of those ones that I've watched so many times. The movie of, I'm like, it's really, really good. Loved everything about it. The puking scene, I mean, just iconic. Again, with the music, really, really good.
Lard ass.
I always loved it because, like, anyone who was like slightly chubby in our school and came running up, they would always say, "He ran all the way home."
I remember a fantastic story watching Conan O'Brien, and Jerry O'Connell was there.
Yeah.
And he says that him and Gary Sinise were at a baseball thing, and these kids were throwing stuff at the back of him, not knowing who it was. And Gary Sinise turned around and said, "Listen, you kids need to stop it." And the kids are like, "Oh, we're really sorry, Lieutenant Dan." Like, they didn't know, "We're so sorry, Lieutenant Dan." And Jerry O'Connell said he got real, like, confident because of it, and turned around and went, "Yeah, shut up, kids." And like, "Shut up, fat kid from Stand By Me." And I was like, I loved that story because it came from him.
And it always tripped me out because obviously back in the day before we had IMDb and everything else, and Sliders come on.
Yes.
And then it was a little bit into Sliders, and then you watch Stand By Me again and you do the double take and you see the same names and you're like, no.
Mine was even later than that. Mine was Scream 2.
Oh, wow.
Like,
yep.
Oh, who is that guy? He's so familiar. It's the fact that Stand By Me.
Insufferable in Scream 2, Jerry O'Connell. And I know you're listening, Jerry.
he had his Google alert.
He's like, I'll put my Sliders podcast away for a second and go listen to DVG.
And of course, River Phoenix in it as well. Haven't got you.
Don't have the song.
Don't have the song.
Sorry. We also have Corey Feldman, one of my favourite child actors of any time ever. Went on to voice Donatello twice and Slash in the new series, so that's pretty important. Keith Sutherland, one of the coolest vampires ever put to film.
Is he basically just in his Lost Boys make? I mean, he's literally a Lost Boy in this one.
Pretty much. I did see a picture this week called Queefer Sutherland, and it was my favourite thing all week.
Oh my lord.
Get into that.
And Richard Dreyfuss.
Oh, man. You're excited, I bet, for the new
not at all.
Clark Griswold / him movie.
I saw them on the I thought on Netflix, I'm like, wow, you put Chevy Chase and Richard Dreyfuss in a movie you just don't want anyone to watch.
Have you seen that?
I've seen probably 15 minutes and fell asleep.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It came up as a suggestion as like a 73% match for me. I'm like, you guys need a calculator because you are very wrong. And then it's like, do you want to watch more Brooklyn Nine-Nine for the 400th time? Yes, that's much better.
It should have come up as like, Paul said you would like this, you should watch it.
Well, I told Paul recently on my Netflix, whatever I was watching, the season finished, and it auto-played like a Bollywood movie. 30 seconds, 20 seconds, whatever. I stopped it and put something else on. I now get daily, because you watched 20 seconds of this film, would you like to watch this Bollywood film? I'm like, please stop.
Did you enjoy the 20 seconds of it though?
It was too much for me.
It was way.
There was about it was Bayhem.
There's a lot going on.
Not catching on.
There was 30 explosions and it was insanity. All right, coming up after this next song, we will be releasing the information of the next big match at Wrestle Rampage Never Surrender, coming up this weekend in the Port. Don't forget to jump on to Wrestle Rampage's Facebook and check out that event and get yourself some tickets. This is Dave's Video Graveyard. It is Dave's Video Graveyard as we discuss Dimension films off air because we are professionals. Now, basically, we've been teasing another massive match coming up this weekend for Wrestle Rampage. Let's not skip the gun. For anyone that hasn't been to a local wrestling show, what can they expect?
It's a lot more of an intimate environment. So obviously, there's people think of wrestling, they think of the WWE. Yeah, there we go. WWE on TV, and that's always a great thing to like. If you're a fan of it,
especially if it's 2001 to 1992.
Yeah, well, God, I miss those days. But look, if you get a chance, get out to a local show. There's some fantastic promotions, especially here in Adelaide. We are not starved for wrestling here. There is some fantastic events you can come to. And Australia is taking off. There was, even today at the Royal Rumble, we had 3 of the Australian girls that have all been on Wrestle Rampage shows in the Royal Rumble. So get out to a local show. Make sure you will enjoy it. I guarantee it.
And that's I've taken so many people to local shows, and they're always blown away by the level of athleticism, because they're like, you know, like you go watch a local footy match and you're not expecting to see AFL quality, whereas you go to the indie leagues of professional wrestling, particularly in Australia, you guys are leaving everything out there. Like,
absolutely.
I would be like, nope, there's not 100,000 people here for me to do this death-defying match. Nope, these guys leave it all in the ring, and it's pretty amazing, especially when you pull muscles like picking up the remote control like I do. So watching guys do some amazing stuff is really good. And I really like that all the local guys have a real diversity of, you've got like your cruiserweight styles, you've got your big heavyweight guys, and it's just awesome. The girls are even like kicking more ass than I would in a lifetime.
Absolutely. I think the last probably 2 or 3 years for Australia, it has really taken off, and as we can see, we're getting people signed to go to the WWE and be big names. I mean, they did a huge show in Melbourne last year. It shows that Australia is getting looked at, and hey, we are going to be noticed.
And not just that though, it says a lot for something that essentially the guy that helped build Wrestle Rampage from the ground up is now training future WWE stars, that is the, to many, the be all end all. That is the big leagues. You cannot get higher than that.
For sure. Well, it was 1999 and
because I'm personally aiming for TNA personally.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's just my
that's fairly high.
Yep.
You'd have to be fairly high. Like in 99, like Cole Devani started training some guys, and Hartley Jackson, Jag Hartley Jackson was one of those guys when we started it in 99. And then that filtered to the guys over in EPW in Perth, and then a lot of the Melbourne guys started to take on that training, and someone like Hartley Jackson especially has everyone in the country that's wrestling right now has a debt of gratitude to Hartley Jackson, and then in turn to Cole Devani, who we lost just over a year ago, which is very tough for all of us, especially that had a big effect. I mean, it was
essentially Cole, the foundation of pro wrestling in Australia.
Absolutely. Well, it was Cole that rang me and said, hey, do you want to come and do this commentary? So I always blame him. It's his fault that everyone gets to see my face and hear my voice so much every month at a Wrestle Rampage show. So yeah, it's
I blame my parents.
Yeah, well, yeah.
For you? So it's so weird. They're like, we don't even know Luke.
Everyone blames your parents.
Yeah. No, but it's really cool, and like I say, like the local guys are putting their bodies on the line for everyone's entertainment. Like you say, you started in 1999.
Mm-hmm.
I challenge anyone listening to think of something that they've been doing since 1999, let alone something that puts your body at risk. I've been putting on weight since 99, so I'm there. I know exactly what it's like to put your body at risk since 99. But honestly, like, it is amazing. And the other thing that a lot of people, particularly a lot of the parents of my kids that go to school with them, it's a family thing. It really is. If you're inclined to drink, that's also a thing that you can do there responsibly. But it really is a great family atmosphere. The kids can basically You can enjoy the atmosphere of a local wrestling show and know that no matter what your children do, they won't be the most feral kids there.
Absolutely. No, well, yeah, there are some interesting people that do come.
If you're a people watcher, I beg you to go. Well, and that's not a judgment, that's just a
and for me, I mean, look, I've seen so many wrestling matches, but I'm also there obviously in the centre of the ring and I'm ring announcing, and so I'm looking at the crowd a lot of the time. And it's always funny when you see kids getting stuck into the bad guys, and then I look at the parent and do a little bit of a wink and a giggle, and the parents are right into it. So it's that weird bonding experience that you get with the audience, whereas like wink wink nudge nudge, or I'm watching the kids get right into it, and that's what we're there to do. You come in, you buy your tickets, and look, you enjoy yourself for 3 or 4 hours in a live environment. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all.
And it is dirt cheap, and that's not taking away from the product itself.
Yeah.
You're not going to get that much. You'll have to see 10 terrible bands because that's kind of the lineups locally.
Yeah.
But anyways, come at me, local bands. My name is Anthony. Nah, shout out to Homebrew. Check them guys out every Sunday night.
So, yes.
But we do have another match to announce.
We do.
Yes, we do.
We do. We have a 6-pack challenge match. So we're going to have Dean Valente taking on Nick Golfus, also taking on Einar Ironside, against Link Barnett, Kazaran Crow, and Corey Adams. So 6 high flyers and some big guys in there taking it what's called a 6-pack challenge. It's going to be a big match.
It's going to be a cluster fudge of the best show. That was really difficult because that's not ever how that word ends for me.
One day it's going to do it.
It's going to be, no, it is. And that's the other thing that's exciting. If you are a fan of what you see on TV with the products of wrestling, you're going to get a lot of the same stuff constantly. You guys pretty change it up, match to match to match, show to show to show. It is something completely different. You get kind of a Whitlam sampler of wrestling because it's like, here's all the best bits and the Turkish delight that is you. And...
Well, I mean, and I explain it to people. It's just like movies. It's just like music. You not only you've got the wrestling show, but all the matches in there play a specific part. So you've got your main event, which is your big ending, and there's an arc to the show. So the same arc as you would with a movie, you have the same arc as you have with a match, which is also the same with the show. So you're taking people on a ride as an experience for 3 or 4 hours. You can't just hit them all up the front end, and then what are they going to be at the back end? Board. So you need to actually spread that out. So a lot of our matches now, we do like the ebb and flow, and I think it's going to be a really good show. I'm very much looking forward to it.
Awesome. All right, we might get back into the music and then we'll return to the movies here on DVD. Don't forget you can join in the conversation. Jump on Facebook, type in Dave's Video Graveyard at WOWFM, or on Instagram and Twitter. We don't check either of those, but you could put a comment on it. Good times. Why not? We're not going to tell you how to live your life. This is DVG. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Dave's Video Graveyard with LukeHazard picking his 10 favourite films. Now, if you like Kevin Bacon from Footloose and Robert De Niro from Meet the Fockers, you like Dustin Hoffman from Tootsie, Jason Patrick from Nothing because he's not good in anything or likable, or Brad Pitt from The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, then boy, do we have a film for you. Tell us all about it, Luke.
Yeah, I'm about to let all the air out the sails now.
The feel-good hit of the summer.
Yeah, from 96, Sleepers.
Wow.
Yeah, it's if you haven't seen it, you need to go and see it.
I would even be inclined to trigger warning this film because it is rough.
Yeah, it is a very confronting and full-on movie. And it goes for a while as well. It's another long one.
2.5 hours, yep.
But yeah, the acting in this is amazing. Obviously, De Niro plays a fantastic part in this movie. And even Brad Pitt plays the smart guy, which is interesting.
He had to act for this.
Yeah.
He had to do his chops. I've got to say, this film really... first time ever, I've known the poster. It's so iconic. Looking at it right now is the first time I noticed the hot dog cart at the top. And that just makes it even more tragic. I've never noticed that. It is a very good bit of filmmaking in the sense of juxtaposition. The start of the movie, the first 20 minutes, it gives you that Once Upon a Time in America type vibe meets the Sandlot Kids.
Yep.
It's very... it's a loss of innocence film is the overall theme, but my goodness, does it ever get lost? Even when the happy ending with air quotes happens, you still don't feel much better.
I remember the Dustin Hoffman in this film too is just amazing as like the lawyer who just doesn't really know what he's doing and sort of, I always thought that maybe he was in on it, but like he's got.
I thought that sometimes I watch and I go, he's bumbling, like how bad he is at his job is almost like making everyone lower their defense. But then you watch another time, you're like, he's just really not good at his job.
If you've never seen the film, it's about 4 boys who an accident happens where they accidentally don't kill him, but they
accidentally they do kill him.
Did they kill him?
They accidentally kill the hot dog guy after stealing his car with a practical joke. They get sentenced to essentially youth prison, at which point they are abused by the guards, being headed by Kevin Bacon. And wow, was he terrible in anything, as in a terrible character in anything before this, or was this his
pretty much the start of him being like the bad guy? But he's got a good and look, the dude, his mate, the other guard is like the more creepy looking dude. Like, every time I see him, I'm just like, oh god, you could never have been in anything else again.
I always picture him for some reason like it's almost like he played the young. I feel like he would have killed Bruce Wayne's parents at some point. Like that's just the look he has. But I even like there's a really iconic scene where they decide that Kevin Bacon essentially gets off, so they decide that maybe they should shoot him. They confront him in a diner while he's eating, and just his arrogance of like, he basically says that, well, you turned out all right, and just keeps eating.
Yeah.
Even though he essentially knows what they're going to do, and he's still just so arrogant just to eat and act like nothing's happening.
My dad hates Kevin Bacon, and he's like, I like watching this movie because I see him get shot. And you see him get shot.
Yeah, you do.
Hell.
But this is a thing that comes up quite a lot in violent movies where you're changing opinions of violence, because if you didn't see what he had done, like to not deserve it, but what led up to it, and you just saw the murder, it would be too much for a film.
Yeah.
But as it is essentially revenge, it changes the skew of like what has happened, much like the film Irreversible, but this is a little bit more watchable.
And also, like, it lays it out in a very sort of weird way for a movie, not for a TV. Like, you could essentially make this into a smaller, like, Law and Order or something.
Well, because
it shows you the why, it shows you the actual murder. There's no, like, guessing who did what. They definitely had him dead to rights.
Well, because I'm just thinking now, revisiting it in my memory, it is a retake of The Count of Monte Cristo, because it is a long drawn out revenge story, and that's what they're reading. Yeah, they're reading it. Man, just looking at Jason Patrick's face, just want to punch it.
And he's front and center on that poster too. It was like, hey, this is the best thing going on. It's like Brad Pitt's in this movie, put him front and center.
And that's like when he was in Entourage and he played himself but really unlikable. I'm like, I don't think you're acting. His face, I think it's Speed 2. I just can't get over it.
Yeah, well, him as a front guy is a bit strange, though. Yeah. It doesn't feel like the main actor for me in this movie.
If anything, Robert De Niro or Dustin Hoffman, they're straight up.
Such a reserved performance by De Niro in this too. like, he's like even when he's on the stand right at the end, like in the climactic scene, he's like just
he plays the priest that basically consoles the boys while they're being locked up and stuff, and really helps them out. Man, this is a great film.
It is.
Definitely not for everyone, though, but it is. Did it win any awards? Because it really deserved to.
I remember it
was nominated for 1 Oscar, and it won... Let's have a look. It was nominated for Best Music at the Oscars. Wow. It was Critics' Choice at the London Circle Film Awards. Man, and it just got nominated for other stuff. I think this film gets definitely... criminally overlooked. I remember watching this, one of the first movies when we got pay TV. It was one of the first premieres, and same thing, it just had who was in it, not what it was about. I'm like, this film's going to be great.
Yeah, and I think as well, I like the part of the movie where, look, hey, spoiler, it's 96, we're past the point now. Brad Pitt sort of playing it all out and says, right, we want Dustin Hoffman because he's crap, So we need to have him because he's useless. And this is what we're doing. We need here, here, and here. So you get all these underworld figures that you're supposed to hate, and they're all just coming together to sort this guy out.
It's almost... I don't want to cheapen it, but it has got the Ocean's 11 play out of...
Yes.
You find out what's happening as the characters...
Without the huge wink of Ocean's 11.
Yeah, but it's that setup where you don't really know to what level all the characters play a part. So... good times. Good choice. Very good choice. I'm definitely going to revisit it at some point when my entire family are not home.
Yes.
Because I wouldn't risk them watching.
Future episode of DVG.
Yeah.
No.
Feel good. When we do our feel good hits of the summer episode, that will definitely be making it. All right, we're going to get back into the music before we continue here on DVG. It is Dave's Video Graveyard. There we heard from Jet, picked by Paul. Good choice, Paul.
I did not in a million years.
Thank you for bringing your CD in for us. Now, it's not often we get to show the workings of a top 10 list because a lot of people are either dead set on the 10 or they're so unconfident of their 10 that they just stick with it and they're like, yeah, no, I'm digging my heels in. You had so much trouble, Luke, picking your top 10 favourite films that you actually made a massive list.
Yeah, I had to because then I'd get 10 out, but then some more would come on, and then I felt bad because I didn't pick the last one. I'm like, what if that movie's going to be angry at me for not picking it as my favourite? There was like a lot of anxiety trying to pick these movies.
Rightio. So we thought we'd take a little bit of time out and you could run us through your honourable mentions since you did so much homework.
All right, look, I'll just call them off, and if you want to have a chat about them, yell out. Casino.
Out. Love that movie.
Goodfellas.
That is on everyone's list, so good job not having it.
Yeah, Grease 1/Grease 2.
There he is. That's why he's the new co-host.
Yeah.
God, you can have it.
Well, and that's the thing, I didn't pick anything that had sequels, except for Bad Boys, I guess, but...
Well, Grease didn't really.
Yeah, hey, ease up.
Own your tone.
Because it's hard to pick which ones, which we'll see. Independence Day, obviously.
Terrible.
Resurgence, also.
Yep.
Resurgence.
Back to the Future Part 2.
Nice.
The better of all of them. Beverly Hills Cop 2. Yep, also there.
I fell in love with Bridget Nielsen in that film.
Yeah.
But then I watched a reality show with Flavor Flav.
Yeah, not
Changed
so
my
much.
mind. Yeah.
Not so much. I had the Hunger Games on there, but I couldn't pick which one, so that's why it wasn't on the list.
Yeah, that's a reason to not have it on the list. Or that it's the Hunger Games is another reason. If you're making reason. But continue.
You leave mocking whatever him alone.
Yeah.
Sorry, you lost me at books.
Yeah, well, that's fair.
Yuck.
The books were great, though. Kingdom of Heaven.
Okay.
Is that the
Orlando
sword
Bloom
one with Leonardo? Right. No, sorry, because I mistake it for the Leonardo DiCaprio Middle Eastern Body of Evidence. No, Body of Lies.
Body of Lies.
For some reason mix up those two movies.
Yeah, look, it was one of those weird ones where I sort of caught half of it and I really enjoyed it. So I watched the first half. I'm like, this is actually pretty good. But yeah, maybe not so much. Billy Madison.
Classic. No one has ever picked Adam Sandler films.
No.
I think modern day Sandler has such a stigma that everyone's like, no, I can't pick that.
Have you watched his live Netflix?
Didn't hate it, but yeah.
Loved it.
The I Nearly Cried in the Chris Farley song.
I watched that on like a YouTube or something, and again, that was,
Watch the whole thing, man. It's
good?
a really
I'll have to
good...
get onto
It's
it.
probably the
special.
best thing he's done. I know I'm the alone in saying this. He made a movie with Dustin Hoffman about 3 years ago called The Cobbler. Great movie.
The guy who did, I think a lot of the songs directed or wrote that.
Right.
So, he worked with the guys on The Cobbler.
Have
on
you
that
seen The
stand-up.
Cobbler?
No.
It's basically a supernatural drama comedy type thing. He discovers that any shoes he fixes on his dad's magical loom thing, whatever they do, if he puts the shoes on, he actually can pretend to be them. And so it starts out as a bit of a comedy where, he's putting on like a supermodels and looking himself in the mirror, that kind of thing. Not cheesy Sandler though. But then he runs afoul of a local gangster played by Redman from Wu-Tang Clan. No. But it is really good because there's a lot of character stories. I really suggest checking it out. It actually is a really good film.
I have to have a look.
There's a bit where he puts on shoes and it's of a dead guy.
Ooh.
And so you actually take on the person as they are at that point. and it's got Steve Buscemi's in it, Dustin Hoffman's in it. Great film. Check it out. Put that on your list.
I'm putting it on the list right now. Where were we? Misery.
Oh, nice.
Great one. Yeah. And It, the original though.
Yep.
I suppose you can kind of class that as a movie.
Did you like the remake?
It was alright.
I
liked it.
I liked it a lot more on second or third viewings.
That's what I need to do.
Learning a lot through basically having my nostalgia heart broken through the podcast. When have you revisited it?
The original
series, yeah.
Less than a year ago.
Oh, that's fine. That is fine because I have learned to stop flying flags for movies because I revisited it maybe a year and a half ago and it was 90% filler, unwatchable filler. Unlike I revisited the Tommyknockers just last year.
Yep.
Fantastic. And I need more Jimmy Smits. I didn't watch the Sons of Anarchy spin-off, but I'm hoping he's in it a lot. I don't know if you watched The Mayans or whatever.
Oh, I've seen bits of it. I saw the first season of Sons of Anarchy, and I just stopped.
Oh, right. You're not.
I like it, but
you're
it's
not
just like,
northern suburbs enough.
Not
for
enough. But I probably just can't commit to it now. That's because there's just too much. I let it get too far away.
14 seasons behind.
Too much.
Much like so many people are like, you would really love Supernatural. Here's 87 seasons of it. No thanks. No thanks.
Too late. I'm gone. I'll skip the next one because I don't want you two to bag me out.
No.
Goonies.
That's all right. You like pineapple pizza.
Goonies, the pineapple pizza of the 80s.
Yeah. The coriander of the films of the 80s.
Wow.
Sorry. That was a bit hard.
I had The Expendables on my list.
Love it.
And you could interchange any of those. They're all the same movie, just with different action heroes.
Yep.
And again, I like those movies where you can just switch your brain off and watch stuff get blown up. I think that's the best part of movies.
MacGruber.
Wizard of Oz was on there.
Wizard of Oz.
Wizard of Oz was on there.
Movie from last year.
Classic movie.
I judge movies by when I saw them. So Blues Brothers and the original Wizard of Oz, last year's movies.
Awesome. Muppets Take Manhattan. There's an old kids movie on my list.
Love it.
I still, whenever something gets said is on the house,
I
instantly think of that movie.
Yep.
That was I didn't realise, it was only recently I was listening to a podcast about that film. It's the first time you ever saw the Muppets from the waist down.
Yep.
And it blew people's minds, much like the CGI you see in like current Marvel movies. Like when they made Robert Downey Jr. young, I was like, I've never seen something so amazing.
Yep.
And that is back in '86. It was like Muppets legs on a bike. Yeah. Oh my god!
I remember just watching it as a kid millions of times, and then I probably saw it maybe 2 years ago, and I could still watch this.
Yeah,
I could still watch it.
My kids started watching it, and he really likes Fozzie, and just making terrible jokes and saying "waka waka" after it is apparently grounds for him to keep telling jokes. No.
Who was your favourite Muppet?
Animal.
Nice.
As a kid, probably.
Yeah. Gonzo.
Yeah, Gonzo was pretty good.
Throws himself in front of a cat.
Does weird stuff to chickens.
Like you didn't know.
I probably had a couple more. Saving Private Ryan, obviously, great movie.
Talked about that one, yeah.
That's surprising, and we do, like, Spielberg's nearly on everybody's list.
Yeah.
It's never Saving Private Ryan, and that is, I still, to this day, get choked up thinking about the shooting the tank scene. Like, that is just such a good bit, and we now are at an age where we live the scene where Matt Damon instantly turns into an old man. Because, I experience that weekly now.
Well, I know we talked about it a couple of weeks ago, Saving Private Ryan, and I watched it just after that, so it's probably 3 weeks ago that I actually watched it.
Yeah.
Amazing movie.
I will tell the truth. I quite often will skip over the landing. Like, I will actually, because it is upsetting.
Yeah, it's pretty full on, that one. I agree. I had Project X on my list.
Wow.
Oh, okay. Is that the party one or the time travel one?
The party one.
Right.
Yeah, so people say it's a bit of a takeoff for that guy Corey or whatever from Melbourne.
Party boy.
Look, the music, the fun times, wish I was there sometimes. It looked like a lot of fun. The Castle, great Australian movie on the list as well.
I'm really surprised that no one has ever picked that on the list. That's a classic
movie.
Didn't we get a lot of Michael Caine because of that film, including classics such as The Animal with Rob Schneider and Michael Caine?
He plays a doctor, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else? Like, I love when an indie film does massive and then the stars get injected in things they don't belong in.
Yeah.
But it also gave the world Eric Bana to a degree. So.
Definitely, yeah.
And how often... I can imagine that the town of Bonnie Doon would no longer exist if it wasn't for that.
Absolutely. And sending things straight to the pool room, House of Serenity, all of those are common. It's just ingrained in our culture now.
I was going to say, I was only watching a tour announcement thing for Me First and the Gimme Gimmes last week, and they're doing their best Aussie accents, and he's like, "Come along, House of Serenity," and I was like, nailed it.
But yeah, that was my list.
That is a really well-rounded list.
Yeah, I would like to say I'm quite eclectic in the styles of movies that I do enjoy.
You're so random.
Yeah, that's probably the best way to say it.
Is that how 22-year-old you would say that?
Probably. There would have been a lot more swearing in it then, I think.
Nice.
I heard a thing on the podcast the other day, and I wanted to ask both of you today. So when you think of Batman, what Batman conjures up in your head?
Michael Keaton.
Same.
Really?
Yep.
Mine's the animated, for some reason. Like,
yeah.
If someone said, like, imagine, like, what would Batman do? It's not the Christian Bale, it's not the Michael Keaton, it's the animated one, for some reason.
In saying that, I've had this conversation before. If you were to say Bruce Wayne, I instantly think of Christian Bale. But whenever someone says Batman, I instantly think of Michael Keaton.
Yeah, see, I would have thought of George Clooney for some reason.
Yeah, right.
I can't now separate Christian Bale in American Psycho as not being Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
Here's a little fun fact about Batman, the original movie. What year did that come out?
89.
So I would have been all of 6 or 7. We actually went there as part of a vacation care and went and saw Batman in the cinema at that age. So I don't know whether that was appropriate or not. But I cried when the Joker died.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's the part of the brain that likes the pineapple on pizza.
That's probably what it is.
There it is. We've traced it.
That's where we found it.
Pineapple Pizza begins tonight on DVD. That is actually the first film I ever saw in the cinemas. But the only vacation care film that I ever saw, which I'd have to double check, I believe it has Ed O'Neill from Married with Children.
Yeah.
It's called Drives Me Crazy, I think.
Yeah, okay, I remember.
No idea what it was about. Just remember the permission slip saying, I haven't heard this movie, but I have to go.
I saw one Getting Even with Dad. With
Ted Danson and Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah. Batman Returns my first M-rated movie in the cinema. So
yeah, right.
My dad took me to see that, and that movie spooked me.
Do you remember the first R-rated film you saw?
I'm thinking it's like, you know what, you'd love it. I was probably like either Pulp Fiction or Last Boy Scout.
Oh, really?
Yeah. What was yours?
Well, I'm guessing it'd be Stand By Me at school. But
that's not R-rated, is it?
Yeah,
I don't reckon it was R, though, back then. I have a feeling it was just MA or whatever it was back then, AO.
It would probably be Pulp Fiction, because I remember my dad had to get out of the car and come into the video store and say, yes, that's fine.
I had to convince my mum and the video store guy to let me get more rats because it was MA.
Right. The first thing I hired that was R on my own, they had Halloween 2.
Yeah.
The R-rated version, and there was also an M-rated version.
Yes.
And that's my first cassette swap that I ever did at the video
Nice!
store.
Oh, very nice.
Nailed it.
You know what? Hated people who did that. So it happened so much.
Well, by the time we'd hit early high school, we were the take all the letters and spell rude stuff from the sections.
Yeah.
Because we were cool guys.
You were cool.
Then I got a job there like very soon after.
And realised how much that was
Yeah,
horrible.
I'm like, oh, good one. Now I've got extra stuff to do after lockup. Good times. Let's get back into the music before we continue the last 2 films on LukeHazard's list.
No.
Because we'll go somewhere else. I'll just keep scrolling.
I just saved you guys from Papa Roach.
Some POD, some poison.
Oh, God.
It only gets worse.
Oh, God.
It gets worse.
God.
Queen.
No,
Queen. This is DVG. 100.5 WOWFM. This is Dave's Video Graveyard. Quickly, Paulie, just a shout out for everyone to check out our podcast. Jump on davesvideograveyard.com. If you like what you hear here, but you want a few more of the swear words and some erotic fiction, then we suggest checking that out.
You haven't done that for the last year. You have to find
Yeah,
some
I know, because it's like it's too easy to find now, and it's not as much fun. And
I'm actually glad you didn't get Fraternal Hooch.
I did find some, but and after reading about 700, I'm like, I'm probably not going to do this. Now, let's cover one of my favourite films of 2009, which has made your top 10 list. Tell us all about it.
Great movie with that fantastic actor Jamie Foxx.
Excuse me very much.
Yeah, but okay. Aside Jamie Foxx being in there, Law Abiding Citizen. Fantastic movie.
You've gone too long without mentioning a certain other actor in this film. Who else is in this?
Gerard Butler.
Oh, yeah.
The man who makes it necessary for subtitles.
The modern
Why'd you
day,
pick this film?
The modern day Kurt Russell.
I thought he did really well with his accent, though. Like, he does an accent pretty well.
I saw him because he was really good friends with Craig Ferguson when he had the Late Show, and he actually explained how he gets rid of the accent, and once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Oh.
He talks to the side, because he talks to the side.
He does.
That reminds him to not do it, and now when you watch anything where he's not doing his Scottish accent, you're like, oh, can you stop doing that with your mouth, please?
Oh, no, but now thinking about it, I can see it.
Yeah.
Oh, you've ruined it for me.
No, but this film makes me cry. The bit where there's a fantastic scene where someone's cell catches on fire in slow motion. Not sure, obviously green screen, but it looks fantastic.
Yep.
Where he's looking at the daddy necklaces, shed a tear.
Yes, I agree.
It's one of those films, much like we talked about Sleepers with seeing the revenge plot. It changes your mind about the violence that's within. With this, it's kind of like a cat and mouse game between the district attorney and a criminal that's basically killed the people that killed his family. And it's really, really gritty and really cool. What did you think of it, Paul? Because you checked it out
I only saw it for the first time last year. And I had no idea what I was walking into. And that, you just told me about the first scene. I had no idea what was going on. I liked it. I think, never lost my family before, but kind of heavy-handed.
Yeah.
To kill, basically anyone that basically walked past the courthouse when the proceedings was on.
Now, I've spoken about this when we were talking about Turner and Hooch. I touched on it where once you kill for someone, you don't then do the rest of your job properly. Part of Gerard Butler's cover is getting a job as a janitor at the courthouse. Yeah. There's days where he legit had to clean skitties off of the bowl for 4 or 5 hours doing the full job.
I would have liked to see that.
I cannot see you keeping the end game in mind when you're cleaning up a number 7 on the floor.
I'm going to get these guys. Clean up in the
someone has sharded all the chairs in the waiting room. How do you go revenge when you're up to your elbows in it?
Get the janitor that keeps mumbling to himself.
It's one of those movies as well, and we kind of talked about it before, where you're not quite sure on who the good guy and the bad guy is.
Yeah.
Or the good guy is established at the start.
It's a morality,
but then they change it.
A morality tale.
Yeah.
So it's if this guy stops making deals with bad guys, then he's the bad guy. If this guy gives in to the bad guy, then he's the bad guy.
Have you guys seen the new Netflix series You?
No, I've heard many good things about it. It's a stalking tale, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's only a 10-episode sort of setup, so there's no sort of... Now you have to wait for the next season, which I'm loving that.
Because I made the mistake of watching Murder Mountain, and it's 3 great episodes of a 10-episode doco. So.
Oh, well, I won't watch it then. Thank you very much. But yeah, it's a great show, and it's very similar. And the main actor, people are saying, "Oh, this guy's really cute, and I'm really liking him." And then the actor comes out on Twitter and goes, "But he's a murderer," and he's slotting people down because people are falling in love with this guy that's a murderer.
This is much like Paul's most hated film when it released. I couldn't help it when Suicide Squad was released, and everyone's like, "I just want a relationship like Harley and Joker." It's like, what is wrong with you? Do you not get what's happening?
I found attending my son's primary school's book week parade and seeing people, little girls going with Daddy's Little Monster on the jacket and all that stuff. I'm like, ugh.
Well, and this is actually a discussion my wife and I had recently with Book Week, and
because you wanted to go with Harley Quinn, and
Yes.
it's like you're a parent, you're not supposed to dress up, Luke.
You just stole my lead, man. But that's what we're saying. Like, I don't know how I'd feel about my daughter when I'm dressing like Harley Quinn. Like, I have a daughter, and like, do you actually know the character? You've got no idea.
My sister rang me and she said, "Hey, my niece, her daughter is getting into DC and like Harley Quinn." And she's like, "Can you tell me about Harley Quinn?" Because she's not really into the comics. I'm like, I said, "Don't let her watch Suicide Squad because she's only like 10 or 11."
Yep.
There is like a new DC superhero girls animated where she's obviously hasn't got that just toxic relationship with Joker and it's not too bad. She's still like a bad girl, but she's not too bad. So I'm like, ease her into it like that sort of thing. But don't let her go too far the other way because it's like.
It goes to the Sons of Anarchy thing that we had before. Seeing like baby jumpsuits with Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah.
Don't know.
I'm probably the biggest hypocrite because over the last 3 years, my son's gone as Deadpool, Scorpion, and Freddy from Five Nights at Freddy's. So
Yeah, but we look at you and go, but that's okay. That's Dave. Like, you have a different thing going on about you.
I've been told I have a constant asterisk next to my my reputation, so it's like, oh, that's a different set of rules. 'Cause that's Dave.
Well, that's a good thing. You've worked for yourself and your family, though.
That's
Most of the times people like sort of sideways talk about like the kid, but it's like, oh, it's the daddy's a bit special.
Nothing was more glorious than my son winning the first prize of Book Week costume as picked by some celebrity author, which I didn't know because I don't read books.
Yeah.
And it was just the most cathartic moment because it was all the like stay-at-home crafty mums are like, oh, how long did that take? I'm like, not long. As I cover my son's mouth as he goes, I've been building this for 6 months. Shut up. Next year I'm going to send him a Slender Man and just be like, this is a thing that kids like, right?
Oh, wow.
Good times. Or I'll send him as Gerard Butler.
Do it.
He'll just have the daddy thing and just flames.
And a T-bone.
Yeah.
And a T-bone.
Oh my goodness, I've almost forgot. Maybe the most violent stabbing. This is it come up recently. We were speaking about Logan, the film Logan.
Yep.
And there is no way to make stabbing violence not super viscerally violent in film. The stabbing in this film is upsettingly violent.